Good morning, everybody. It is Monday again. We begin a new week. Glad to see everybody here today. Um, it's not going to be a super long um, session today, mostly because I do believe that this is pretty cut and dry, but it's good bearing memory of it. Because no matter how many times I've seen people try to break this issue down and go into what the Greek says and what the Hebrew says. And I think at some point, hear me out, I'm not dogging the need to know all that. That's good stuff. So you can at least have a reference point, not saying no. But I think at some point we have to say that there are some out there that just don't believe the word and that they just don't. And that's to each his own. There are many who will read it and it's not true or it's not all, it's not, and to each their own belief about it, because at the end of the day, everyone has to give an account for the life that they've lived. But for those of us who believe that the word is his word and it stands firm and it stands on its own, um, there are things that we can decipher readily, and then there are things that are given to us that we can simply say, God said it. I don't necessarily have to understand why, how, I just know who. And I don't know that many people like the idea of just trusting that he said it. And so we're going to kind of look into that. Okay. Morning, Cat. We're going to kind of look into that. Okay. Um, I was listening to the Normal Christian Life again and really going through Romans. And one of the things that surged up to the top was this idea of what Christ actually did and how it really transformatively fixed the human issue and condition. We've discussed before here the state of mankind in Adam, which is sinful. We have discussed the fact that mankind taking on the nature of Adam once the fall took place, that you are in that place, and regardless of your actions, your status before Christ is what will punish you to heaven or hell. It is not your actions. Your actions are simply a result of where you are. Um, we don't get this idea from the book, anyway, that our sin is actionable only. Um, it tells you directly that the flesh is there. And when you want to do good, the flesh will not allow you to. He tells you in the book to put the flesh to death. And he gave you the avenue to do that, which is through his death. We often don't like to look at things this cut and dry, but we want an answer for how is this possible. So let's start with the one and only begotten idea. If we were to take a layman's approach to the book, it said in the very beginning that the word was with and the word was God, and it was there before anything else had happened. We fast forward to the New Testament and we read that the word became flesh and dwelt among men. We read that he is the only begotten, only man to ever walk earth to have all of the authority of God. Then we hear people complain that, well, why would and how would God be able to embody himself in flesh and dwell with us and act and still not sin. And they get confused about the whole idea of how can this man walk the earth and not be sinning when he's in the flesh. And you just finished saying that it's in the flesh that everything resides. However, there's only one person that could resist evil, resist the flesh. Only one, and that would be God himself, right? The best way to do it is to embody the one thing that needs to be put to death and never give in to it. The word did that. The word is incorruptible. So when we look at this particular thing of him being the only begotten, that's only the first phase of it. The first phase is this: mankind is in direct opposition to God because of Adam. The only punishment that it is worthy of is death. If you notice, Christ did not avoid the punishment due man. Christ didn't avoid the punishment. He didn't try to curtail the punishment. There was no removal of punishment. The punishment was enacted. That is the just nature of God. You cannot be in that state without the punishment going through. The difference is that the punishment that was laid at the feet of Christ was an unjust punishment to the nature of God. It was promised to the nature of man, definitely promised to man, but God didn't have that punishment laid against him. If you really look at it this way, God technically punished himself on our behalf. Now, that is what you call a different type of justice altogether from a God who people say doesn't love people and doesn't love this and doesn't love that. He took on the punishment that he himself issued to man in order for man to be saved from the punishment he issued to man. That is what you would call amazing. That is amazing. But it, like I said, it doesn't stop there. It goes one step further. The next step that he took was to become the firstborn from the dead. Now, putting you to death is one thing, and that's all fine and dandy. That was your punishment. Perfect. You're put to death. The punishment is now affected. What now? Well, now we are back to where we should have been in the garden. We are now able to be in direct communication and communion with God himself. And the only way he could do it was not just in the death, but in the resurrection of a brand new man, firstborn from the dead. Now, whether you believe in resurrection, whether you believe in any of the stuff listed in the book, that is entirely up to you. But understand that the belief part of it is necessary. It is not up to, well, I decide not to believe, but that's not how this works. This is a all or nothing deal. It is a all or nothing deal. Salvation is not for you to decide. Salvation does not function the way you want. Salvation is not based on your interpretation of it. Salvation is set in stone, and there is a marked description of how you go about getting it, not on your own accord. So whether you believe it or not is inconsequential to the method. I just want folks to understand that. So it doesn't matter my interpretation. It doesn't matter my feeling about it. There is a set in stone process for salvation. Must believe that he is That is a reward of those who diligently seek him. It tells you must believe that these things are true. Not me, the word. The word. I want to read out of Colossians real quick. Okay. Pardon my sniffling, but it's I hate this weather and my body does too. So excuse that. All right, let's start at verse 9. Okay. We're in Colossians chapter 1. For this reason, we also, since the day we heard of it, do not cease to pray for you and to ask that you may be filled with the knowledge of his will in all wisdom and spiritual understanding, that you may walk worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing him, being fruitful in every good work and increasing in the knowledge of God, strengthened with all the might according to his glorious power, with all patience and long suffering, with joy, giving thanks to the Father who has qualified us to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in the light. He has delivered us from the power of darkness and conveyed us into the kingdom of his Son, of his love, in whom we have redemption through the blood, the forgiveness of sin. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For by him all things were created that were in heaven, that are on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or power. All things were created through him and for him, and he is before all things, and in all things, and in him all things consist. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn of the dead, that in all things he may have preeminence. If nothing else, I want people to get from this particular podcast today, we need to really switch our thinking from it being about us to it being about him. You know, the only reason you can stand on business when it comes to right and wrong is understanding that I don't arbitrate right and wrong. I have no problem standing on abortion is murder because it is an outside of me thing. I don't decide. I'm not deciding for myself that abortion is wrong and sinful. That's a God thing. That's murder. He already spoke about that innocent blood taking. That's on him to decide. And I'm agreeing with him. So I can easily stand on business that that is wrong. Same thing with homosexuality. Same thing with any other sin out there. I can stand on business because it's not my business I'm standing on, it's on his. So you can be as adamant and as empowered as you want with this because it is not your truth, it's his truth. And I don't care who disagrees with me. You can disagree all you want. But I am not trying to convince anybody of it because it's not my words, it's his. He will do the convincing. I just have to tell you, you have to listen. He convinces. He has to have the preeminence. We as believers have adopted this docile kitty cat behavior when the word itself is sharp. We want to be butter knives when he is a steak knife. We want to be a tuning fork when he is a sledgehammer. We want to be a breeze when he's a fire. We want to be rain when he's a tsunami. And we just kind of let it be. Because now we've taken on this world idea of Christianity, which is me can just, I don't say anything, I'm not offending anybody. God is offensive to the sinner, and he should be, because he's an affront to all the lifestyle of sin. That's so it should be upsetting. It should be angering. It should be displeasing to the life of a sinner. It should not be comfortable. It shouldn't be comfortable. We'll continue reading on. For it pleased the Father that in him all the fullness should dwell, and by him to reconcile all things to himself, by him, whether things on earth or things in heaven, having made peace through the blood of his cross. He reconciled all things to himself by him, by himself. You see, that's why I say he doesn't need mankind. He is using mankind to show who he actually is. He is displaying himself in every action he's ever taken within the confines of time and humanity. It is not about us. I know that is a very tough pill to swallow because we have become now the object of all things. But you're not. We are not the object of all things. We're in a certain spot in this hierarchy. And in the hierarchy of salvation, we're the ones that caused it to be needed. So how are you that important? We are the cause of the need for salvation. Think about that for just 1 second, that you think you're just the best thing since buttered bread. But the only reason that salvation has occurred is because of our stupidity and our downfall. The word became flesh. How? God knows. Do I need to know? No. I just know that it did. I know that God placed himself in human form to take on the punishment that was due mankind. He put that body to death, defeated the power of sin, rose, defeated the power of death, and gave us an avenue by which we can become sons and daughters. The whole process, if looked at from the human mind, is unbelievable, fantastical, crazy, impossible. And you would be 100% correct. If looking at this whole avenue from the human perspective, you would be completely maddened at what you're hearing because there is no stinking way that could be possible. But thank you for telling us that you don't believe that God can God. If you don't think God can God, then okay. Okay. God can't God. And in order for us to believe that God can God, we need to see God God again. He needs to do the same stuff he used to do. Do you know that he performed many, many, many miracles while walking this earth? Did you know that? And did you know that no matter how many miracles he performed, there are still people that said, nah, the devil's doing that. We're different though, right? We would be. No, I would believe. I would just show it to me. I just want it to happen in front of me, and then I'd believe. You are somehow so different than generations before you. Without the benefit of any technology, witnessing what they witnessed, they didn't believe. You, with technology, wouldn't make an excuse. Secondarily, what would be more faith building? You to take him for his word or you to see it? What exactly did he mention faith as? Did he mention to you that faith is something that you have to grab with your hands and he needs to come back and give you a brand new revelation of something so you can see it? Did he say that? I don't recall that. I don't recall that. In fact, what I do recall is something completely different. What I recall is this in Hebrews 11. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good testimony. By faith we understand that the words were framed by the word of God, so that the things which are seen are not made of things which are visible. Now, when you start looking at God, do you in your mind start wishing that you could see what he looks like? I've been there as a kid, and I, on occasion as an adult, wish I could. And I start to question to myself all the things that I've learned as a child growing up, and why do I believe it, and how could I believe it, and what makes it believable, and blah, 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 blah. And then I had to stop and ask myself, why am I trying to quantify God's existence on a man made plane? How can I possibly quantify in my mind the relevance, truth, the dimension of God with my mind? Like, how can I maneuver my head to figure it out and understand it, grasp it fully from a human standpoint? I can't. And it would frustrate me until I realize I don't have to. I was never told I'd be able to. I was never said to me in anywhere does it say, I will fully, fully know God. It doesn't say it. But we here try to make it a human while I'm alive occurrence. How are you going to do something that's impossible? How are you going to do that? God gave you the option and opportunity to be a part of the new family, which was supposed to be the original intent. The sharing of his nature and life to be his son, to be his daughter. The tree of life is him. He is giving you the option to partake of that life. Now, we don't like it sometimes because we want a tangible birth certificate or something. Without faith, it's impossible to please him. Every turn that you make in this world, trying to find a humanistic approach and answer to God will fail. He does not reside in our understanding, he resides in his, and his is above ours. And we have to understand this one very important thing. He did what he did, and how he did it was on his level of thinking, not mine. I simply must believe or don't believe. It when you simplify this, either you believe or you don't. So which is it? Do you believe or don't you? He was the only begotten to do what was done in the flesh. Then he became the firstborn from the grave after doing what he did, and invited many to join in that death, because it said that we were crucified in him, were Past tense, it happened at that time. All of mankind's sins were indeed in front of God removed. Consider it like this: I am the government and I have a forgiveness of debt certificate to give everybody in America. Somebody paid off everyone's debt, just gone by way of the government standards. Now I make this decree. I say, everyone in America, all you have to do, all you have to do is show up at this location, present your name, and say, I want my debt forgiven. That is all you have to do. Show up at the site. These are the designated things throughout the United States. Show up and say, I want my debt forgiven, and they will give you a certificate of debt relief, and you will have no more debt ever. So some people go do it and they get debt relief. And others say that sounds impossible. I would never see the government doing that. And they don't go and they stay in debt. They keep paying on this debt. Now, the only difference in this analogy between that and God is this: the government probably would still take your money. just be honest, the government would probably still take your money. But your actions toward God is inconsequential. It's not going to ever pay off the debt you owe him. The only option you have is to take the debt relief. But let's go back to the analogy real quick. So some live like they never had that debt relief, okay? And no matter how many letters the government sends them and says, you don't owe anything. You keep sending us money, but you don't owe anything. You say to yourself, well, that doesn't sound right. I'm going to keep sending money. Now, who's the one really harming who? You're harming yourself because you refuse to believe and do it. You keep spending your money for no reason. And in some cases, you even go so far as to say, see, I pay my debts. And look how amazing I am. I pay my debts. And there are tons of people that do that. Look at me. I'm so good. I mean, yes, there's God, but look at how good I am for just obeying the man. Yeah, but have you given up what you got and told him, I'll take what you did for me? No, I see. I don't need to do that because I know full well that I can do what I got to do. I don't need the debt relief. I'm good. And you're hoping that doing all that would somehow give you some of a leg up with the government, but it doesn't work like that because the debt's already been paid by not you, by somebody else. It's even on the certificate. Then there'll be some people that say, well, I want to see the person pay that debt for me. They might say that they paid it, but I want to see them pay it. I must witness him take his cash and pay my debt. Then yet still others will say, let me see the person who actually paid my debt. And I won't believe anything until I see that person. Then there'll be at some that says, that's just stupid. Who would do something that dumb? Pay my debt. They don't even know me. There are tons of people that would give an excuse as to why they shouldn't take it, why they need to have proof that they shouldn't take it. And they'll want all kinds of caveats. It doesn't change the fact that the debt had been paid. You just don't want to admit it. Because you'd much rather have the bonus in your mind that I did this. I did something to contribute to the removal of my debt. Wasn't you. You were just the beneficiary. But just like with the decree that you should come and declare that it is yours, You don't get it? You don't come to Christ and say, I have done nothing to deserve what you've given me, but I thank you that you've given this to me. And I believe. If you don't do that and you want to continue doing your own thing, you have that option. You really do. There's ain't nobody stopping you from doing that. Just understand that it is pretty crazy to be doing that after the God of the universe said that he forgave your debt. Not only that, he ushered you into his family. So now you have no debt and you're rich. No debt and rich. Your name change, you've been adopted into one of the wealthiest families ever. You've been adopted into the wealthiest family. And I don't mean by wealth, money, 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 money. I mean, there is nothing you will lack. He said so. Now, let's back up to what is the most important thing that you would love to not have the need of. Number one thing that you should want is the right standing before God. Your fight with the flesh will always be there. Till you pass away physically from this earth, it will be there. But just like he told you, he has given you victory over that and the grave because he did, and you're in him. That is also a truth. Actually, it is the truth. You can submit to the sin nature or you can submit to his nature. Up to you. It really is. This is where the decision making has to come in for you. It is not something he's going to coerce or force. There are things that are going to happen to you, in front of you, to people you know, that will eventually test your belief of who God is and what he actually will do and has done. Tons of stuff will test that. If you don't know him, you'll fail the test. If you don't know, you'll fail the test. Jesus Christ was the Word made flesh. The only way for God to save humanity was to enter humanity, live the kind of life humans were supposed to live, put to death the flesh with no condemnation on him, and end the reign of the flesh over his creation. Not the impact, the reign. Not the impact, the power. Not the impact, the control. Sin, as long as you live, will be here to torment you in terms of telling you that this is your state. Don't ever forget that. But the blood speaks what? A better word. You have to decide which you're going to believe. And if you say you've believed God, then there's no way that the devil can say something to make you disbelieve it. Plenty of people are going to make you want to disbelieve it. let them disbelieve it. You know better. In any case, like I said, today's not very long, simply because I wanted to make sure people understood this concept because it's in the word, but more so that you don't have this continuing nagging feeling of, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? Abide. That's it. Abide. What am I going to do to get? He did already. Abide. Accept it. Accept it. I want to find something here before I leave. Let's see. Here it is. Okay. I want to leave on this note because I think it's really, really a good note to end on. Let's go to Hebrews 12. Let me copy this here real quick. Okay. Let's go to 18. For you have not come to the mountain that you may be touched and that burn with fire, and to blackness and darkness and tempest and the sound of the trumpet and the voice of words, so that those who heard it begged that the word should not be spoken to them anymore, for they could not endure what was commanded. And if so much as a beast touches the mountain, it should be stoned or shot with an arrow. And so terrifying was the sight that Moses said, I'm exceedingly afraid and trembling. But you have come to Mount Zion, to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly and the church of the firstborn who are registered in heaven, to God, the judge of all, to the spirits of men made perfect, to Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant, and to the blood of sprinkling that speaks better things than that of Abel. If you are not sold on what God did through the word, either get there or get off the ride. He will do through you what needs being done. Of yourself, you can do nothing. These are just facts. Again, they're just facts that you have to believe. If you don't want to believe it, that's also okay. It is okay because you have the choice. But understand this, once you have become a believer, your choices go out the door, superseded by his wants, his requests, his needs, all of that supersedes yours. When we listened to the book, there was an analogy that Watchman gave about a man who was intent on becoming a doctor because he would love the title of doctor for people to call him Doctor so and so. And he became a believer. And then one day he was pursuing again the normal trades of having to go to school, and he was notarized, and people knew him and all that stuff. He said one day he wanted to ask God, is there anything you need me to get rid of? I just want to be so close to you. Tell me what I need to get rid of in my life. And the story goes that he got the pointing to not pursue being a doctor. Are you willing to give up being a doctor if I required you? And he wrestled. Why can't I be a doctor? Why can't I be a doctor? What is so bad about people I could help being a doctor, God? Just let me be the doctor. Well, you see, the being of the doctor took up all of his time, all of his energies, all of his attention. So while on the one hand, he was saying, yeah, I want to know you more, the more time was spent with something else that he got to know better. And the decision was laid before him. You relinquish that or stick with it. Pick one. So no matter how much warring he did, he was not comfortable. And the day that he was supposed to take the exam to become a doctor, he called in and says, I can't do this. I was called to something more. I was called to something bigger. And I can't go through with the doctorate degrees. Sorry. Now, did God intend for him to be miserable because he's foregoing something he wants? Because we keep hearing, God will give you what you want. But you said you wanted him, kind of like the rich young ruler. But in order to have me the way I see that you need me, you have to get rid of this, and that's it. But you don't want to get rid of that. So all of a sudden now it's God's fault. Nope. When you choose to follow him, it's a choice to follow him. Not for anything you get, not in order to get something, for him. If you are in that place where you can't see the end of the tunnel, or you think for yourself, but I'm not that bad. Or you could be thinking to yourself, I am horrible. Christ still died for you. He still died for you. And he's just waiting for you to accept what he did and start living. Start living. Too Strong will be on tonight. Savage Patriots will be on tonight. 6:30 for Savage, 8:30 for Too Strong. We'll be discussing the possible purchase of MSNBC by Elon Musk and what that could mean. And we may have a guest on Too Strong. Okay. So we'll see how all that goes. In the meantime, in the between time, my mom assured me that she's not thinking fatalistically. She's just trying to get her ducks in a row because she does not like to be ill prepared for anything. We talked this morning. So that did indeed set my heart at ease, that she's not thinking, I'm not thinking I'm going to die right now or anything like that. I just want to get my affairs in order for when, if and when that day happens, but it has nothing to do with, I'm seeing it on the wall. So that's good. She just wanted to make sure that I understood that, because I guess she heard me saying what I said. So she wanted to verify and clear that up. So just so you all know. But still pray that her body be healed. She says that she's praying, just like I tell people, pray for his will to be done. And I fully agree with her. I'm 100% in agreement that we pray for his will to be done. But I'm also going to ask for healing. And if he does not see fit to give healing, he won't give it. So he'll still do what he's got to do. But I have to prep myself for two things: his will and the absence of mine. So, and it should be okay with me. And it is okay. And she's okay with it too. So just want all to understand that that was it. Tomorrow, if you are subbed to my self-defense channel, I will be going live tomorrow from the YMCA for my first class there. And if you want to watch, feel free to go watch. If you haven't subscribed to it yet, please, I would appreciate the subscription. It'd be great if you could. I will drop the link here in the comment section. We're going to be doing our intro class, and I want you to just kind of, the things I'm going to be probably giving to you is going to be very easy for you to do on your own. And I think it's going to be essential for you to be prepared the same way that David was ready for war, and Solomon was ready for war, and all these guys were Joshua. They were all ready for war. Physically, there are going to be an onslaught of things that happen, and it would be good to defend yourself. I'm not saying going out to be angry at people, but as a parent, or even the daughter or son of a grandparent, protecting them is a good thing to be able to do. So just tune in if you want. It'll be at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern till 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern on my self-defense channel. Okay. I'll drop the link one more again in case you guys have not seen it yet. I am also going to be trying to drop a couple of workout routines on that channel for all ages, because I do think it's important to not be sedentary. You just kind of move around. Okay, so it's up to you. Oh, and okay, so it is official. I am not going back down in December to see Mom. That will happen next year. So, just so you know, that's where I'll be live all December. So scrolling at the bottom, you know what to do. Speak to the author, and he'll speak to you. Hey, that was a rhyme. That was a bar. And we'll holler at you guys later on today on Savage, and then tonight on Too Strong. Wisdom calls to you from the streets. Please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die,